Good morning, good afternoon, good night. Welcome to another scene for London Ascending Vampire. Tonight, the following evening, Laura is invited to an address, which is the calling card of the London Academy of Fencing by Camilla. She is instructed in the invitation that the entire hall, the building, is safe. It has been acquired by Camilla for the evening, so there is no issue of privacy or masquerade or anything like that. And we start the scene with Laura arriving at the location.
Laura's just getting out. As usual, there's a car that drops her off, and she exchanges a few words with the driver, and he drives off. And she has a smile on her face. She has a bag with her. She's wearing training clothes. She looks more like her age. She's not. She looks like a 18 or 19-year-old. Um, and she just has her bag with her, and she will enter.
You make a quick perception alertness check.
Uh, One moment, please. I need to make sure. Since as I have not yet memorized my sheet and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Two successes.
You are aware that there are a couple of people here. It's not a very big building, but as you go in, you see sort of somebody move, and you realise that it's someone you've seen before in Tite Street, possibly Camilla's School. That sort of moves between rooms without disturbing you. So you'd probably be aware that Camilla's ghouls are here.
Laura will just go in and she will just look around, and if she has an opportunity to say hello, she will, but I'm guessing there's going to be kept a distance. And she's going to enter the main place and look around for Camilla.
The ghouls are traditionally trained in the way that a lot of servants were in historical times, so they tend to be attempt to keep out of sight when they're not called for. But they will not ignore you if you address them, they'll bow. And when you enter the main hall, which is sort of got this sort of quite lavish 18th century roof, you see that Camilla is standing in the centre of the room, wearing fencing gear. She's got like a very pale blue shirt on underneath a fencing chest piece, brown beige trousers, black boots, and she has a sword, fencing sword, and there's a table next to her with some other bits and pieces on it, got gloves.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm really glad we could do this so soon. It's been a while. Do you have some appropriate clothing for me?
She indicates to the table where there's some gear.
She will she will begin to adorn a fencing gear and find a mask that fits her. She's tucking in her hair and then a mask. Just say, so, any rules? No usage of powers of the blood. No enhancing ourselves, just ourselves. That sound agreeable?
She dips a little bow as she, in agreement, as she puts on her helmet, trying to sort of catching Laura's eye briefly before she does. She's got a little bit of a mischievous look in her eye. Because Camilla's enjoying this because it's really, really rare that she gets to do anything like this.
And Laura just smiles as she closes the helmet and will go up. You notice that Laura she's swaying a bit more than she normally does as she walks up.
Swaying?
Her hips.
I see. I know what you mean.
Yeah, and she just stands up, looks at her fencing sword. What is that in English? Vector Corbin, or? It
is. I mean, these aren't foils. They are proper swords.
Okay.
They're not super world's sharpest swords either. They're like practice swords.
Yeah.
So somewhere in the middle.
Yeah, she'll look at it and just say, I suppose we can do without the real thing.
Unless you want to challenge.
Well, we have to save us some. We have to save us some interesting things for later, don't you think? Let's see how this goes, and then we'll maybe take the real thing. But for the moment, she just looks up at the sword. And she will just get into a position. And she just on guard. And do we roll opposed melee dex rolls?
Yes. So Camilla takes a she puts her hand behind her back, her left hand behind her back, and she sort of stands astride and holds the sword up. So it depends what kind of. Are you going to be going offensive or defensive?
Laura will, for the moment, be defensive.
Okay. I roll a silly amount of dice because I'm not spending for celerity. Celerity passively adds to your.
That is true.
Ducks.
Which is cheating. No, it's fine.
Which is cheating. Yeah, I roll 14 dice. I think. Yes, I do. Silliness. Absolute silliness. It's a good job we aren't really using real swords.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot of successes there.
Yeah. You get the upper hand, clearly. Laura has 2 successes, since she actually has a specialty. So you'll probably be able to notice she's not necessarily a newbie. You're obviously more skilled at this point, but Laura will try again to see if she... Wow, okay. 2 successes again.
I'm going to go defensive this time. On which I'm going to use... Well, it's the same dice pool, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Well, I don't get a specialization this time. If I parry, I don't get it. Yeah, that was a bad roll.
You still have more than enough. But yeah,
Camilla is. If she gets the first hit in, she gets the upper hand. But then she's a little bit surprised by your skill. It's obvious that Laura is trained, and And that surprise catches her a little bit slightly off guard for her next parry, which is weaker. You can tell it's weaker, perhaps because she's surprised by something.
3 successes this time as Laura lunges forward again.
I'm just going to roll. We roll dex dodge this time. Yeah. Camilla dodges out of the way.
All right.
And you hear her chuckle under her mask.
Let us, just for the sake of it, instead of us rolling
Forever.
Yeah. The fighting will continue. You'll get a sense of, like, it's not just, she's probably done this for real.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's obviously not only, either she's been training in a massive amount at some time, maybe she's a bit rusty, maybe it's been a while, who knows, but she's definitely not a noob.
Camilla's this is what Camilla is famous for, so it's obvious that she's going to be very, very, very good at it. But she's not being very competitive. Well, she's being competitive, but she's not being too aggressive. She's impressed, but she doesn't sort of over dominate too much because it's bad manners.
After like a good 35 minutes, Laura will just step back and just say, I submit. You are everything that the rumors going around says. And she bows to you and takes off her hat or her fencing helmet. Just, truly, truly skilled. I must say, I'm flattered. I'm truly honored that you would accept this. I thank you.
Camilla raises her mask and she says, "You should have known my sire. He made me look like a poor imitation."
Wow. Well, say that would have been quite something to behold, the two of you squaring off.
If you would like, I can teach you. To help you practice, you have skill. You have potential to be much more practice if you dedicate some time to it.
Well, thank you. Although I do believe that some things would help me more than others.
She raises a brow at that.
Well, certain gifts of the blood would help more than others. I have been meaning to begin to master the art of discipline. Sorry, she shakes her head a little and smiles. Discipline of celerity, my son. It gives quite a bit of, what shall we say, liberty in combat.
It gives you a natural edge. That's just true.
Yeah, my sire had quite his own idea of what I should be spending my time on. And this was originally not one of them.
Your clan are among the most respected of our kind, and I'm sure that he I only wanted you to emulate the heavy weight that is the nobility of the name,
Quite so.
which you do admirably.
I thank you for your kind words. And she will begin to take off the fencing gear and just. So, you have a place for the night, or do you frequent here often?
When I do frequent here, when I do come here, I normally book the room, but I booked the whole building tonight so that we could practice in peace. I wasn't aware of your preferences when it came to security, so I thought I'd err on the side of caution.
Well, you did fantastically. Why take the chance? So, I've been meaning to ask you something.
Camilla starts to remove the armor as well, but she's listening. She nods when you say,
What do you make of our new keeper? I mean, he is capable, methodical. Quite a few rules, to be honest, but I'm not a second guess him. But what do you make of the man?
Camilla smiles and she says, one must be very careful about what one says to the harpy about one's clansmates.
Truly. But that is not what I'm. Well, you see, I have really no opinion on him. He is a mystery to me. And that is why I ask. I have really not much that I know about him. And I feel that is a dereliction of my duties somewhat.
Mr. Nygaard is an intelligent tactician and a man who holds etiquette in high regard. He was a good choice for keeper.
With that, there is no doubt. He is, yeah. He's an interesting character.
I'm led to believe he's somewhat of a ladies' man.
Oh.
So perhaps
You can tell that Laura smiles at that, and she smiles a little bit mischievous. Not necessarily that it's. Well, you can take a perception of the roll.
yeah, I'll go do that. One success.
It's not like she's thinking of, like, you get the sense that it's more of the smile is more of a smug, like a bit of superiority in the smile than it is fantasizing or like, oh, I have to talk with him now.
Camilla sort of indicates for you to walk with her a little bit. Just it'll be loath not to use the building, seeing as we have it to ourselves.
Quite so.
I'll show you some of the artwork as we walk around.
Oh, Sure. And she will come up and walk with you.
And as they walk, she will say, "So, how did you come to being involved in this life? I'm always curious."
Well, well, my sire, my great-grandfather, who many knew was dead, but apparently not completely dead, had watched me for some time and felt like that the lineage should be continued in more than one sense. And he had picked me as the first worthy, my looks and for my interest in other things other than giggle and, well, being a woman. I had
Did
other
it not?
interests.
Did it not hamper your ambitions of marriage?
I was married.
Not.
At that time, marriage is something that comes uh, quite early. As soon
Yes,
as
I
you,
remember.
as soon as you have bled, you are married. Well, it was not that early to me, but yes. I had given birth to my two children, the twins. Not long after, well, my great-grandfather wanted me, but he was met with a, what is it that they call it? Time crunch. She smiles a bit like she smiles with a bit of a sad smile. Just and his hand was forced. Not that much, but so
There's a genuine look of sadness on Camilla's face. It's sort of they're walking through this corridor that has these big windows, and moonlight periodically catches. And in one of the swells of moonlight, you see that Camilla's face is very sad. The idea of having children it didn't cross her mind at first,
well,
and then she just the idea of having to have lost children in such way was makes her very sad. She just
she looks at you and just says, "Well, do you realize that I did not lose my children, right?
Camilla tilts her head.
They lived. The time crunch was not on them; it was on me. I was fortunate enough to have the boy and the girl, my children. You spared. I myself, however, was not. Do you remember the Black Death?
Yes, troubling time.
Quite so. It did not spare me. I was dying, you see. So my great-grandfather faced a choice. Lose me his prospect, or embrace me and save me from this almost certain death. And he did save me. My children believed their mother to be dead. It probably strengthened their resolve. can truly say?
Kind of lowers her eyes slightly. I was fortunate not to have anyone to weep for my disappearance.
Well, it is a long story. It's it was not entirely my choice.
No.
To answer your question.
There's so much, I feel that there's so much history that we all have that plays a vital role in our actions now.
It is what we make of it. I would think that it is important to hold on to, but unless you are directly asked about it, there's no need to chronicle it to everyone and everything you meet, as some of us have a tendency to do.
She raises a brow again, like sort of like, I wonder who you're implying.
She has a wicked smile on her face. Oh, you feel slighted?
Strangely not.
Oh, you shouldn't be. It wasn't meant in any way towards you, and I do not know all of the kindred in the city that well. I'm not, but I have met quite a few who reminisced long, long hours, everything, and you can tell that like she gets a fairly tired and annoyed expression on her face. She's obviously talking about someone you probably don't know, but it's quite clear that it's very vivid. Like,
Camilla actually laughs, which is an unusual occurrence.
I'll have to mark that in my book. Announcement to go around. The night of Toreador. And she will just look at her, laughed.
She shoots her a kind of don't you dare mock look. I ask you, as in your duty as Harpy, not to speak of this. What would people think if they knew that I laughed?
Well, they might see this better side of you. Better side of you. Other side of you. I do know you have a reputation to uphold, but it will not be that bad, would it?
Looks a bit serious again.
So stoic, so knightly. You are really. And she stops herself and just looks at you. I really appreciate this time. I'm glad we could do this.
I spent many, many years in America, in the States, with young members of our kind who are exciting, interesting, passionate, flawed, curious, but like I said to you before, it's rare I have a standard of conversation like this, and it is why I always relish the time I spend with members of Clan Ventry?
Well, part of the reason why I'm here. Hopefully, have as much socializing as possible. And if it is with such delightful company as yourself, I'm all the happier.
I think we may want to ask Mr. Hardcastle if he wants to join the coach we propose. I was thinking about it last night.
A kindred in which is distilled the most, well, the deepest roots of the British Isles. She smiles.
Kind of looks curious because she obviously doesn't know all this stuff that a harpy would know. Nor would she expect a harpy to unburden all her secrets either.
She just, well, I can talk to them if you want to.
Yeah, maybe you are better at proposing ideas than I am. I'm sure you could turn coal into gold dust if you so wished.
And she smiles at me and just says, I try my very best.
My social skills are somewhat unrefined in the manner of diplomacy, at least. It was not ever my position.
Who needs diplomacy when you can convince people with your sword?
Well, it's not always time for violence, is there?
Indeed not, but if you look at human and kindred history, those with the biggest guns, swords, muscles, finesse in combat, whatever the case, they seem to be a lot more persuasive most of the time.
He nods. But if you also look into our history, you will know that those who are politically astute and advise the kings and knights often play a bigger part than is documented.
Right, so
Especially in the rise and fall of empires.
it is a balance. A powerful force, military, governed by those who can manipulate. Cannot have one without the other. This is one of the reasons I think that the two of us complement each other so very well.
She smiles. Nods. Stops in front of a large painting of a banquet hall, probably painted in about in the 1670s. She looks at it curiously, as if she's looking for someone or something in it, almost. Ah! Here. And she points to a man. He stands very, very far to the back of the room. And he's got dark hair and a dark moustache. And green eyes. as is painted in the picture. He didn't stand out until she pointed to him. But now he sort of does. He sort of seems separated from the rest of the painting. A manipulator. I knew that man. He was of your clan. And he was very politically astute, charming, kind, decent, honourable fellow. He never held a sword or waged a war. But of his time, he was possibly one of the most influential people.
Well, such is the way sometimes of my clan. Wish you could have met him.
Unfortunately, other forces were at work.
As they are now.
Quite so, which is why we must maintain order. The torture of the former Sunshell in the Elysium is a scandal that will be very hard to swallow if anyone from the inner council comes to ask questions about it.
The old council?
The inner council.
I do believe that they would know already, wouldn't you? It was not exactly a private announcement.
The last thing we need on the brink of a civil war is internal investigations from the Archons about open practices of torture inside Camarilla Elysiums.
I do not believe that there's a tradition against it. But I see your point, nevertheless.
There's not a tradition against it, but there is a...
I take your point quite serious, I might add. I'm well aware what you mean, but it is a more defensible practice than others. Had it been a more public or problematic breach of traditions, it would be more of a problem.
The breach of traditions within the city would be a matter for the Queen. The breach of behaviour, susceptibility to debauched monstrosity is a curiosity for both the inner circle and outside influences, which is my concern. But the Queen tells me, she says, flourishing her hand, that I overreact to things.
Well, people's behavior is something to look out for, especially with an impending Sabbat incursion. But we spoke of this last night, and I do believe we are in agreement.
People are permitted to practice whatever kind of punishment they see fit if they are given the right to do so. It is just people must control themselves if we are to maintain the masquerade.
Quite so.
That's my only concern. I would caution you about Lord Arthur. If he has that level of power to be used so freely. Something to keep an eye on.
Our seneschal's brother of blood.
Mm-hmm. The sire of our Markavian primogen.
Truly. Concerning.
I've seen that level of power before.
Not the power. Not the power, but the willingness to use it.
Yes. Willingness to use it so joyfully is what concerns me.
And rightfully so.
I would not wish to see you caught in the crossfire of the madness. That's my caution. And I'm sure you are. You wouldn't have gotten this far without being able to handle yourself.
That and little madness is always a risk. It's not necessarily what we avoid, but more that what we have to take, what we have to endure that teaches us.
Glenna nods thoughtfully. Turns to sit in the box window, the light pouring through it.
Laura will sit opposite her.
Hoping that Laura doesn't have the sensitivity to moonlight fall.
She does not seem to,
That's good.
because she sits down and looks at you. So, here we are.
Here we are. I will. She actually does sigh in a sort of kind of mock humane way. I will hold a salon for our potential coterie mates. I want to gauge their opinions.
Have you by chance met, or you obviously have met, but what do you make of the Ruja Primogen?
Well, I can't say I know her well. I'm aware of her, but we have not had conversation, really. Connor sort of looks at her kind of. She's going to make a perception empathy check, actually, because she's wondering why she's asking so many questions about different people. It's probably because she's being a harping and starting to get, like...
Paranoid!
Paranoid. Wow, that's a terrible roll. That is like the worst roll ever.
Yeah,
Look at that.
she just, but it's symmetrical, and it's
So pretty, look at it. Everyone should witness the symmetrical roll.
No, it's just
Oh,
like you need to
7,
exchange
1,
them.
7, 1, 7.
Yeah. Well, you can't really. I mean, it's, Laura just sits there and waits for you, and if you don't like speak about it, she just, you know, thinking that she might. You're not the only person I've begun training with. So
Ah,
there are more
that's not.
ways to there are more ways to fight than one, and there are more people that know the arts that I have some interest in. Celerity being one.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you foster competition then, when it says playfully.
Yes, quite so. And she, like you, did not disappoint. I found myself bested, but it is only when we are bested we truly learn. But she seems capable and quite a good person to have around in the case of having to defend ourselves. Would you not agree?
I'm sure that as a member of her blood would be capable, but not as capable as I am.
Well, you're capable in different ways. I'm sure that if
Camilla,
you were,
Camilla looks a bit arrogant at this.
well, think of the situation where you were disarmed and had to fight and wrestle someone off. That would not be the same kind of fighting as with a sword.
She has a look on her face that says, "You are correct, but I do not wish to agree with you verbally."
Uh, or it's, yeah, well, Laura will just say, like she will enjoy that look for a little too long, and she'll just say, but of course, that would mean that they have to disarm me first, which is no small feat, of course.
Perhaps I should challenge this bourgeois Parisian. Dana, isn't it?
It is.
To a contest to match your theory.
Well, I would very much appreciate to look at that. See two fighting so, two fighters so fierce, squaring off.
Consider it done.
She has a very mischievous grin on her face. It's almost scary. It's almost
In the moonlight, like super
yeah,
freaky looking.
but she's almost rubbing her hands, but just almost. And she's just you must let me know when this is going on, and I should very much like to be there.
I will send her a missive, or perhaps you could, being a harpy, could offer my invitation to a duel.
Quite so.
I'm sure she would not refuse a warrior of her ilk.
Hmm. I'm quite sure she wouldn't. She just smiles as she looks at you and just, I think you would enjoy it as well.
You can tell Camilla would enjoy that. She's still got this sort of air of competitiveness about her. It's slightly similar to the look she gave you the other evening, actually. Slightly intense. Or she shakes it off.
Hmm. It's a curious thing, don't you think? That sometimes we see maybe a fraction, 2 or 3% of what's going on. and yet somehow it screams to us as it's all we see. Curious.
She turns sort of almost fully to face Laura when she says that. Quite curious indeed.
Mm.
Well, I will have Cadbury draw up a formal letter to give to you, to give to our Lady Primogen. And we will set a time.
Very well.
Unfortunately, we can't do it at dawn anymore, which is unusual.
Well, I will. I will show her the competitive spirit that she wishes to duel. Um, I'll be looking forward to it. Come. I still believe that there's more for you to share me. As she nudges to you down the hall.
Camilla stands up and walks a bit further. I believe inside this building you climb it to an observatory.
Hmm.
It's got like a dome at the top. Or some kind of academy many years ago.
I'll have a quick look. And Laura will climb the steps up to this place. And
It's very narrow, so
yeah,
they're going to have to go one in front of the other.
right, Laura will go first.
Camilla follows her up, and it's kind of like a... It's clear that this room doesn't get used very often. It's kind of like not very grand. Like the other rooms are. Like, obviously, people walk around, and this is just like, let's just dump some stuff here.
Yeah,
but the view is nice.
So, now that you answered, and I answered quite truthfully. How did you come into this life? I'm curious. Were you always knight or close to it?
I was the daughter of a seamstress. Born. She points out into a direction. Not that far from here. In an area you would have known at the time would have been not the slums exactly, but not a high class area. Or a merchant area. My mother died. My father remarried. I was fascinated by the stage. I wanted to perform. I wanted to wear the costumes that I saw my mother make. It was a very magical time, the birth of theatre. So the only way for me to do that was to wear the costumes and pretend to be a boy. A boy that eventually grew into a man. And a man who eventually came across another man who saw potential. I'm going to make a manipulation subterfuge roll. Which I fuck up.
Ah!
Kuna is omitting something. It's quite obvious that she skips over something in the story. Isaiah trained me in the art of sword mastery and etiquette, and promised to uphold my masquerade for as long as I wished so that I could gain influence in court. I was lucky. Not a very interesting tale. She smiles.
Laura will just look at you and just say, well, as with my tale, as with your tale, for people who have been quite reasonably properly introduced, the tale is boring. As time and trust grows, the tales become a bit more interesting. Tale and, well, intricate. She just smiles to her and just nods. Just looks at her. Well, sounds like a good man, Messiah. I wish I could have met him.
He was killed in the Blitz. As several elders were.
Yes. Quite so. My own side died long before that. Different shores.
Do you have you given the gift of the embrace?
I will just have to roll something.
I would just have to roll something suspiciously.
No, it's self-control. She takes a couple of seconds, a couple of moments. Once, yes, I did.
Camilla sort of takes a step forward in Laura's direction. And she doesn't reach out to her as such, but she does sort of she sort of puts her hand in the air in the space between. And she lowers her head and she says, "Forgive me, I asked too many questions. Perhaps in time, tales will become..."
It is quite all right. I'm the one who started all the questions. It is my job. No, please do not think any of it. It is fine. It is fine. Yes. Yes, I did once embrace. Yes. And she becomes a little bit more quiet. She just says, well, shall we continue?
She nods and indicates you to go first.
She will.
I think the rest of the rooms will probably be things like there's like a seating room, I guess, like a I imagine like Theodore's Club in New York, like a whiskey drinking, cigar smoking room.
Yeah.
Probably for all the old boys to sit around and talk after they have a good fight. A changing room and a kitchen.
It is truly grand, this place.
It's. I'm sorry, sometimes my vocabulary is an effort.
That is quite adequate. Adequate. That's fine. She smiles to her and she says,
Maybe a slight indicator that Camilla's not naturally well educated.
well, you're doing. I knew quite a few, well, have known quite a few over the years. Children of noble people who did not amount to more than drunken fools and babbling, ignorant loaves. You have transcended quite a lot, I'd say. I'm quite impressed by you, in more ways than one.
She does a sort of a bow, almost mocking herself a little bit because she's not used to compliments.
But then again, I am also somewhat old. It is not that long ago that women truly began to be able to do some of the things that seems normal now. But whenever I meet women of my age who are so formidable in the ways you are, I am fascinated, truth be told.
It's a shame we did not meet during those times. Or maybe we did, and you did not know it.
I doubt that, she smiles. But we have met each other now, which is very fortunate indeed.
Quite so. Camilla indicates for. She just sort of raises her hand very abruptly, and a man appears out of the shadow. And she says, I want you to draft a letter soon. He nods. And she'll detail to him what she wants the letter to say. And he will go and do it.
Mm-hmm.
And he will return shortly afterwards with the letter, sealed with wax, and he will hand it to Laura. Well, he'll hand it to Camilla first, and then Camilla hands it to Laura.
She will just say, I will keep this to me, and I will give it myself to Dana when I have the opportunity.
Good. I hope the fight will entertain you.
Oh, that I have no doubt.
Camilla smiles. And she'll walk out to the front of the building and sort of turn on the top step.
Uh, Laura will just get her bag and tuck very, very carefully tuck the letter into a secure place that it's not going to get uh, this is not going to get damaged. She will just take her bag and she will as she's exiting she will just say thank you very very much. I hope we can do it again soon, as soon as possible.
Well, consider my offer, and should you wish to train further, then my door is open.
I thank you very much for this. And she will curtsy.
Camilla bows her head in time with the curtsy.
And she will smile and she would have called for a car and the car will arrive fairly a little later, but she will get into the car, wave goodbye to Camilla, and leave the area. And with that, the scene will come to a close. Thank you very much, players, for playing and watchers for watching. Good night.